Well, howdy. Welcome to the Bender Bunker, your online resource for B-Bender Country Guitar since 2017. Broadcasting to you from Central Texas here in Austin. As you saw in the debut of our new fancy opening, we're out in space, we're down at Earth, we're going into Texas, and apparently we're located in the Texas Capitol building, which is not true. So when you take the tour, do not ask to see the Bender Bunker. We are not there, but we are in Austin, and happy to be bringing you our newest episode entitled Background Bender. What's that all about? Why you want to be in the background? You got your own YouTube channel. You should be in the forefront. Hear me out. As a lead guitar player, and I've been called worse, that's all I've ever done in band since I was 15 years old, so quite a few decades now. And as a lead guitar player, I feel at least 50% of my responsibility is not just to step up and deliver an interesting solo when the time comes for that, but also to be in the background, filling out the song with some interesting fills, some licks, not stepping on the vocal lines, bringing some different sonic qualities to fill out the song. That kind of thing, background work, if you will. And I thought, well, let's get into some of that with our Bender guitar. Let's see what interesting things we can bring to the background mix with a Bender guitar. And to further highlight that, I thought, well, let's have that intro kick things off with just some no-bender, straight-ahead country fills. So the first half of that intro is just me filling some straight-ahead country licks, just trying to play along with the three chords. I think this is a 1-5-4 today, E, B7th, and A, if I'm remembering correctly. Wrote this a while back. And so kick things off with some non-bender, I should say, country fills. And then halfway through, you see me kick over and bring the bender into play. Now, hopefully you see right away we're going to a different sonic quality. It's taking on a different sound. It's filling out the song in a different way. Not better, not worse, but different, giving us some variety, which is one of the things I love about having a Bender guitar. Now, ideally, when I'm playing in a song like that, I would be mixing it up, non-bender, bender parts, probably alternating, but for the sake of this lesson, I thought let's compare and contrast the two, so let's go non-bender straight into bender. Now, this being the bunker, I'm not going to be showing you any of that non-bender stuff, the intro there. There's plenty of country channels on YouTube, quite a few actually, that'll show you all those tasteful licks, but I'll be going over all the bender parts you heard there in the intro, and I'll break them into 3 chapters. Chapters 1, 2, 3, because I do go over those chord changes 3 different times with 3 different ideas. So chapter 1, and of course chapters are right there at the bottom of your screen. You can click them with your mouse, skip all this talking, get right to it if that's what you choose to do. But chapter 1 will be covering this first pass of the 3 chords, which will be that's chapter 1. Then the chords repeat themselves, and we'll go into chapter 2, which will be more of this. And then chapter 3, well, you know I'm a sucker for harmonics and benders. And that's what we'll be doing in chapter 3. Some of the harmonic work you saw me do in the intro. Etc. So we'll cover all that in the 3 chapters, and click on those if you want to get started right now. But if that sounds good to you, I'd say go grab the bender instrument of your choice. And while you're looking for that, let me do a little YouTube business. You know, I was just looking at some YouTube stats for the first time. I don't usually look at this stuff. I just put out the videos and let it do what it's going to do. But I went over to my YouTube channel and saw hard, cold stats from YouTube themselves about the channel. And this one really jumped out at me, so I'm going to share it with you now. Let me regale you with it. I don't think we do enough regaling here on the channel. Did you know, according to YouTube, year to date, and this is halfway through the year of 2025, I'm filming this in July, 70% of you apparently watching me right now are not subscribed to the channel. 70%. That number seemed awful high to me. Let's see what we can do to bring that down to maybe half and half, 50% if we can. And that's done with that subscription button waiting for you in the bottom corner of your screen. Grab that while we're thinking about it so you don't miss anything moving forward. And let's see if we can't lower that. I think, you know, if you're into country bender guitar, this is your channel. I mean, we've been doing this for 7.5 years. I believe, here's another stat for you. I believe this is the 91st bender-related video we've published here on the channel over the last 7.5 years of the channel. And I think 91 bender videos I think we can make the claim that we offer the most bender content of any YouTube channel in the world. That's crazy, right? But that's what 7.5 years of content will do for you. So if you're into it, hit that subscription button and let's get going. Let's get that 70% down. Another thing we can do here, if you'd like to support the channel, 3 of my favorite words, quick, free, and easy. thumbs up. Just let that YouTube algorithm know you're appreciating the bunkered content. You'd like to see more in your feed, and maybe we can make that happen. I appreciate the help there. And then finally, if you're thinking, you know, I have borrowed a few licks from the bunker, and I hope you have. That's what we're here for. And I'm looking forward to grabbing a few of the ones I just saw in this video as well. But I probably should buy this guy a beer, but I don't know how to do that. Well, good news. We've always called that a virtual beer donation, and that's where you utilize the Bender Bunker's PayPal account to send over the virtual beer donation amount of your choice safely and securely with PayPal, the link for which is always in the details section below each of our videos. And a quick thank you to those that have sent something over since the last time we put out a video. We are just starting to really get the Bender Bunker beer fridge nice and stocked up here for summertime in Central Texas. It is nice and toasty. 95 degrees behind me out there. All right, that's about it. You got your Bender guitar, you ready to go? Because we're going to get in the background and have some fun here with our Benders coming up next here at the bunker. All right, let's kick things off with chapter 1. Nice to have you on board. A couple of things to cover before we get rolling. It applies to all 3 of the chapters of this lesson. At the end of each, we'll have pick hand cam, patent pending. That way you can see exactly what my pick hand is doing in each of the chapters. That also allows you to concentrate out of the gates here on what my fret hand's doing and what the Bender mechanism's all about. Engaged, unengaged, right? So don't worry about that. We will circle back at the end of these chapters. You'll have everything you need to be dangerous. Secondly, this is background bender. What does that mean? Well, it means we probably need to soften our pick attack. We're not going to come after it like a lead, and probably even soften the tone a little bit on our telly. And what I'm kind of doing for that is when I take my volume back up, I'm going to come off it a little bit. Right about there. Take some of the bite out, smooth out the tone a little bit, because I'm trying to be in the background, not so much a lead. So when I do that opening lick I'm about to show you, it won't be as harsh and it'll be nice in the background of the song. All right, let's learn the opening lick to this song, which is what I just played. We're in the dominant key of E, so I am going to start you with this. No big deal, trust me. We're just using the top 3 strings. We're only going to fret one of them, so how hard could it be? Take your index finger and place it on the 3rd string, 1st fret. Leave the top 2 strings above it open. That's what you've got there. And why does that work? Well, because we're in E, and those are the top 3 strings of an open E chord. So that's why it works. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit the 3 and 2 string together, take the bender all the way up, fully extend it, hold it, and then hit the high E open when I get there. That's what that sounds like. Now, you see how your middle finger is ready to go right there above the B string? Drop it down, pick it, and slide it up to the 7th fret with the bender still engaged. That's what that sounds like. Now, notice how your ring finger is ready to go and drop down on the high E 7th, so go ahead and do that. Now we've got the top 2 on the 7th fret covered with the bender fully engaged. To unengage the bender, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go ahead and pick that high E 7th, go straight to the B string 7th next to it to let the bender down. Bender's unengaged now, and then I'm going to drop my index finger down to the B string 5th. Take my middle finger off, of course. So we're going. And I immediately hit the high E 7th because I never moved my ring finger. And they ring together, the 5 and 7 on the 2 and 1 string. Sounds like this. Bender's unengaged. Now, easy. We're just going to take the middle finger, drop it back where it was, B string 7th. So now the top 2 7th are covered again. Pick them together and take the bender up and down like this. Up and down, up and down. So all together. And we end with the bender unengaged. Now, let's go ahead and do that lick again, except when we get to the part where we come down on the bender and the index finger goes to the B string 5th for that note, that's where we stop this time. Stop right there. Bender's unengaged. Because right now the backing track's going to B7, so we got to do this fun little lick. And that's a fun transition getting from the E to B, so let me show you how to work that. Let me show you the finger positions for this B section, and then we'll cover what the bender's doing. I think that'll make things go a little smoother. We are working the 4 and the 2 string together. I'm on, what is that? Ring finger on the 4th fret of the 4th and my index on the B string 2nd. So 4 fret and 2 fret on the 4 and 2 strings. That's easy to remember. And what I'm going to do is let me show you this pattern. I'm going to be walking down the 4 string. It's going to literally going to go 4, 3, 2, 1 on the frets, and kind of follow along there with the B string. So here are the finger positions, 4 and 2, take that down 1. Again, we're gonna go down on the 4th string. I'm switching over to my middle finger. B string has to go open now. And I'm got one more to go on the 4 string. I got nowhere else to go on the open B, so I'm just going to hit the open B string again and go down to the 1st fret with my index. So that's a simple walk down on the 4 2 strings. Not too exciting, but that's what we've got the bender for. So when we get the bender involved, it sounds like this. And what I'm doing there is, I'm going to start with that first position I just showed you. I'm kind of sliding into it. You will definitely hit your 4th string, 4th fret first, go immediately up to the B string 2nd, take the bender all the way up like that. Once I get that up all the way, I am just going to go ahead and hit a real quick note on the open high E next to it and come right back to the B string 2nd. So that sounds like this. Everything's ringing now. Bender's fully engaged, and I'm going to walk it down just like I showed you with the bender fully engaged the whole duration. When we get to this last walk down, 4 string first, B string open, I hit those together to bring the bender down. And we're done with the B section. So all together. All right, backing track goes to A now. We're going to do a very classic, simple A bender lick. Sounds like this. And the bender went up at the start of the lick and came down at the end of it. That's all the bender did, no big deal there. So let's just learn the frets and the picking pattern real quick. So we're going down to A, so let's make an A note. So it's index finger, 3rd string 2nd for an A note, top 2 strings above it open. And like we did at the beginning of this lesson, I am going to pick the 3 and 2 strings together, take the bender up and fully extend it. Okay, we're good there. Notice how my index finger is never going to move. It's going to stay right there on that A note the duration of this whole A section. Now I'm going to go up to the high E 3rd fret for a quick note with my ring. Come right back to the A note. I'm going to go down to high E 2nd with my middle finger. But when I get there, I'm going to go high E 2nd, B string open but bent, and then back to the A note. So it's 1, 2, 3. So here's what we've got. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to take my middle finger off so it's open high E and then still open B. But when I get to the open B, I'm going to let the bender down. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that's the A lick. But when you play it in rhythm and up to speed, it sounds like this. And the bender's unengaged. We're ready to get back to E, back to the dominant key, and we're going to do that with an open E chord into an E 7th bender position. Sounds like this. Ooh, that sounds nice and twangy. So let's go back to where we started this party, okay? So index finger back on 3rd string, 1st fret, top 2 strings open, just like we started this chapter. So same thing we started with. We're going to be picking the 3 and 2 strings together, take the bender up fully, and then hit that high E open once we do that. Now, with the bender engaged, I'm going to be making the E7th shape, great for benders. What I mean by that is think about a D7th open chord right here. No big deal, you do that all the time. Take it up 2, now you're in E with the same chord shape, and that's what we're going to utilize to our bender advantage here. So this is, when we slide up here, think about that shape I just told you about. That's 4, 3, 4 in your frets. Those are the fingers I'm using for it. You use what you like. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with that high E 4th. And when I get to the B string, that's when the bender's coming down. Bender's down. We're going to go ahead and just follow that pattern of the E7 shape, that triangle, if you will. So let's go ahead and hit that 3rd string, 4th fret once we bring that bender down. And then I'm going to take my index finger off the B string so I can hit it open and take the bender back up and let it back down. So all together that sounds like. And when I do that, I never took my finger off the 3rd string 4th so that it's actually ringing with that open B string on that very last bender section. That's what you're hearing. Bender's unengaged. Now we're still in E, and let's get out of it by using exactly what we just did. Go ahead and make that E7th shape again. And now I'm going to pick the 3 and 2 together, take the bender up, and when I get to the top, I'm just going to actually use the whole chord shape. I'm going to go 3 and 2 strings up, pick them up, take the bender. When I get to the top, go ahead and hit that high E 4th. And then we got to get over to B. Well, we're so dangerously close to what I've always called the bender box. The B bender box, let's just use it to our advantage because nothing's going to sound better in my opinion right here. And what I mean by that is we're going to go from this E7 shape to the B bender box. So my index finger just goes down, covers the top 2 on the 2nd fret, and my ring finger goes over to the 3rd string 4th. We now got the B bender box ready to go. Bender's still fully engaged from our last move, which was, remember, taking the E7 shape back up. And then I switch over to the bender box position I just showed you, and we're just going to walk it down starting on the high E, B string. When I get to the B string next, the bender comes down and I finish on that 3rd string 4th. And that unengages the bender. So we go. By the way, right when I go up on that E7th and switch over to the B, I do one quick little dead note as well. So if you really want to play it like the opening, it's this. Just right before I start working that B section down. Bender's unengaged, but we're not quite done yet. We got to do one last thing in E. What can we do in E we haven't done? Well, we just did the E7th. Let's make it the E non-7th. Let's make it a open D chord. So open D chord up 2 is E again, but this time instead of a 7 shape, we're going to be just doing a full major, and I'm going to play it like this. Make that D chord up there, right? So it's 4, 5, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I've been doing, 3 and 2 strings up. Bender's only going up at the beginning and coming back down at the end. That's all the bender's doing. And we'll cover that picking pattern at the end of this at Pick Hand Cam, but that is the D shape you need to make for E. I'm going up with the high E covered on the 4th, and then when I go back and pick it again, I'm taking my finger off for an open high E. And that last note you hear is the B string. Let the bender down. All right, that is the entire section of chapter 1. Let's move on to Pick Hand Cam and we can really drive this bad boy home. Okay, Pick Hand Cam for chapter 1, and let's get up close and personal with what the right hand is doing, and let me break it down for you. It's just thumb and index finger, a gun shape if you will. No other fingers are being used, no picks. It's just these 2 fingers doing all the heavy lifting, and I'll show you why we can use that to our advantage to get it to sound like the intro we're learning. So we're going to do this. And so what I'm doing there is thumb is on the 3rd string, index next to it on the 1st to take it up, and then I do the index for the high E. All right. Now I'm using the index finger for this section, and then bringing the thumb back when I go to the 5th fret. And then when it's time to do them together, it's always going to be thumb and index together on these double stops. Now we're switching over to the B section. This is where we really can use the 2-finger method to our advantage because so much of this B lick is going to be the 4 and 2 strings being hit exactly the same time. And you can only really do that with this method. You could never technically hit them together at the same time with a pick. One would always have to go before the other with a pick. So that's why this is going to work for us nicely. So remember this one. So again, that's going to be the thumb, of course, always working the 4 string and the index working the other string. All right, let's move over to our classic Elec. So that starts with the thumb. The thumb is pretty much only going to work that A note on the 3rd string, and I think the index finger is going to do all the rest of the lifting. Yep, that's the case. Now we're going to do the E lick. Those are fingers together. Thumb, index. Now, 3 and 2 together, index at the top of it. Index, thumb, and then the D chord shape to get us out in E. And that's that picking pattern right there. Well, welcome to chapter 2. Nice to see you continuing on with the lesson, or perhaps you jumped here with one of our chapter headings. That's fine as well. We are going to be working over those same backing tracks, which are now repeating the pattern of E, B, 7th, and A. So we've got to be playing something different, but the same, if that makes any sense. We don't want to jump too far out of the rhythm and the vibe. So I've got to think of something else to play. I'm going back to the dominant key of E. And keep in mind, don't worry about this hand. We'll get to pick hand cam at the end of this chapter. Pay attention to what this is doing and this is doing for now. And I'm going back to E. I'm going to work out of the E bender box because we've been spending a lot of time down here. Let's jump up here and do these 8 notes of glory made fun by the bender. Here's what the first 8 notes are going to sound like. Yeah, that's right, just 8 notes, but the bender really adds that extra flair to it, if you ask me. And the bender's being used on notes 2, 6, and 8, if that helps us get through these in a hurry. And so let's play these 8 notes and bender out on notes 2, 6, and 8, shall we? All right, we're working, as I say, out of the E bender box right here. And if you don't know what I mean by bender box, those kind of terminologies, I recommend you maybe consider after this going over to our main YouTube channel page and finding a video, one of our most watched, called Tips and Tricks for First Year Benders. And that's where I go over all the primary major bender shapes you need to know to start twanging in a hurry and have these lessons make a lot more sense. And I explain things like bender box, all that good stuff. So again, Tips and Tricks for First Year Benders waiting for you on our main channel page. Check it out after this if you are new to the neighborhood. Nice to have you on board. All right, here are the 8 notes. We're going to be starting on the 4th string 9th with my ring finger and the B string 7th with my index. That's notes 1 and 2, by the way, of the 8. So I'm sliding into the 4th string 9th on that ring finger for note 1, immediately jumping over to B string 7th for note 2, and that's a bender note, so we're taking the bender up. 1, 2. Hold it there, keep it engaged. And I'm going to do note 3 with my high E on the 9th with my little finger. 3. Right back to the B string 7 for 4. 5 is going to be open E, because I took my little finger off. Back to the B string 7 for 6. Well, that's a bender note, so the bender's coming down. And then what's note 7 going to be? Well, note 7 is going to be my ring finger moving over from the 4th string to the 3rd string 9th. I hit that for note 7, go immediately back to what I never moved, the index finger on B string 7th. That's a bender note. Bender goes back up, so it's going to be 7, 8. Those are notes 7 and 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the lick sounds like this now that you know the 8 notes and the bends on 2, 6, and 8. Remember, we've got kind of a middle road, mellow backing track. We're trying to be in the background, so I'm milking it. If you watch that intro again, I'm milking especially that first run. That's what the bender's doing, ultimately ending unengaged. It's all right. So that is our opening E section, 8 notes of glory with the bender. And now we're going to go over to the B section, and we're going to be utilizing something I've done many times on this channel. I even had, I think I have a lesson on it. It's called the 1-5 lick, because 1 would be E and 5 would be our B in this case on our backing tracks, and I'm going to be going back and forth between the 1 and 5 by just one change on my 3rd string with my fingers and the bender, B and E. B, E. So let me show you what I mean. Again, we're trying to get something going in B for the backing tracks, and it's going to be this lick. Well, let's think about the E bender box, and that means my index finger's covering the top 2 on the 7th, and my ring finger's going on the 3rd string 9th. And that leaves my middle finger right there where it needs to be on the 3rd string 8th, in between my index and my ring, right? When I switch over to it. Well, what am I doing right there? Well, I'm making the first 3 strings of a B bar chord, so that works great because we are playing over the B backing track. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to pick on that 3rd string 8th and then roll right up with my ring finger to the 9th. And then immediately hit the B string 7th, covered by my index, come right back to the 3rd string 9th. And then I'm going to go over to the B string 7th again to take the bender up. And now I've got the E bender box engaged with the bender engaged. And then I'm going to go high E 9th with my little finger back to the 3rd string 9th. And then high E 7th covered. And then the B string 7th to let the bender down. And that pattern is really just the 3rd string 9th, high E 9th, and then the 7th on the being covered by my index finger. That's that pattern. We'll go over it more in detail at the end of this with pick hand cam, but it's unengage. So all together. We're still in B, so what I'm going to do is just drop my middle finger down there and make the top 3 strings that B bar chord again, but I'm going to pre-engage and then hit the 2 strings together to let the pre-engage bender down. And that'll get me out of the B section. So all together, pre-engage. All right, we're going to A now, so we're going to go ahead. Remember in chapter 1, if you watch that, we did the E 7th bender shape down here. We're going to do that same bender shape, 7th shape for A. So think about a D 7th open chord moving up to here. That's a 9-8-9. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to trace the chord starting on the 3rd string. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Now when I get to the 2nd string, I am taking the bender up, but I'm then going to go ahead and hit that E string on the 9th. So it's just 1, 2, 3, but on the 2nd, the bender goes up. Now I'm going back to the 3rd string, and I'm accenting with my little finger on the high E 10th. 3rd string, finger comes off. And then back to the B string for the bender to come down. And that's pretty much it. Now we got to go back and do a quick little E lick. I'm going to go back to the E bender box. So again, index finger covering the top 2 on the 7th, the ring fingers working off the 3rd string 9th. But I'm going to just really kind of do... That's all I'm doing. So when I get back in position, I'm just picking the B7. And then with my ring finger, quick note on the high E9, right back to the B7 to let it down. And then switching back over to the 3rd string 9. I've got 3 and 2 strings ringing together. So out of the A. Bender's unengaged. What I'm going to do here is take the 3 and 2. I've got the E bender box again, top 2, 7, 3rd string 9th. I'm going to hit the 3 and 2 and take the bender up. Bender's fully engaged. And we're going to go E down to B. So to get out of E, I'm going to take the top 2 strings and double pick them and then let the bender down. And then end on the 3rd string 9th, the full E bender box. I'm going to take that exact bender box shape and move it down here for B. So top 2 strings index on the 2nd, and that's 3rd string 4th. Pre-engage, do exactly what I did. Double hits to let the bender down because I'm pre-engaged, and end on the 3rd string 4th. That's all we're going to do for that last little B section. So it's E to B. And then not to get fancy, we're going to end this chapter 2 the same way we ended chapter 1. I'm going to go ahead and make an open D chord shape up here on 4-5-4 because that's for E, and we're ending out in the dominant key of E, and I'm just going to do that same picking pattern pretty much we did in chapter 1. Let's just bender up at the beginning of the lick, bender down at the end. So here we go, the whole thing. Pre-engage, up to A. All right, that's everything you need for chapter 2, except of course, pick hand cam coming up next. All right, welcome to pick hand cam for chapter 2. As with the other chapters, I will be picking everything I'm about to show you with either my thumb, index finger, or the 2 together. So if you think you're seeing other fingers or a pick, I promise you are not. It's one of the 2 making the gun shape. Let's get rolling, shall we? We're going to start with that opening, and that's 4 and 2 strings. I've got my thumb on the 4th string and my index finger on the 2nd string to get the party started, and then I'll show you how they alternate. Anytime I'm playing 2 notes together, they're always thumb and index together. Just keep that in mind, but here we go. Now the 1-5 lick. two notes together, so it's both fingers. The A7th. Double stop, so thumb and index together. Same double stop. And then our D shape for E. All right, hope that helps. Let's move on to chapter 3. Chapter 3. You kidding me? You made it to chapter 3. Good for you. You're my hero. Or maybe you just enjoy hot harmonic action as much as I do. I've got you covered here. We are going to be starting off with 5 open harmonics in a row and then getting our bender involved on the last 5th one. And all the open harmonics are going to start here on the 12th fret and be the top 2 strings of the 7th fret. So it's 1, 2, 3 on the 12th, 4, 5 on the top strings of the 7th. What we're doing is we're starting with the low E, high E, B string. Again, I'm right there on the fret wire making open harmonics. So that's 3 of 5. Then I go up here, top string on the 7th. And the B string on the 7th is 4 of 5. So by the time you hit these top 2, you've still got your bottom 12th ringing and they sound nice together. Now when we get to the 5th one, we're taking the bender up. And so that's what that sounds like. I'm going to convert those harmonics to open strings by just picking the open high E and the open bent B. That allows me time to move my index finger down to the 3rd string, 1st fret, and when I get it there, I'm going to pick the 3rd string and the open B string together to let the bender down. Remember, this is a background bender, and one thing I will tell you about harmonics, as much as I love them, I love how they sonically can really cut through the mix, but they can cut too much, so you've got to be careful here when you're in the background. Don't overdo it, but here's what it sounds like all together. Now let's repeat exactly what we just learned. On the 5th note, we take the bender up and we're going to come back down in B this time because the backing track's in B. Sounds like this. So just what you did before. Now to come down in B, we're going to do the top 3 strings of a B bar chord. So my index finger is going to cover the top 2 on the 7th, the middle finger goes 3rd string 8th, and I'm just going to work it down from the high. 1, 2, and then I'm going to hit the 3rd and 2nd string together, let the bender down, up and down again. I think that's what I did in the intro. So here's how we do B. Now we're done with the harmonic action for chapter 3. We're just going to do some very simple E, A, B kind of things. The backing track is an A, so we're going to go down here and do the simplest thing you can do, an open A chord with your bender helping you. So that's just make an A note, index finger, 3rd string 2nd, leave the top 2 open. We're going to take 3, 2 together, take the bender up. Hold the bender engaged there. I'm going to sneak up here on the 3 and 2 strings to the top 2 strings of an A bar chord, leaving the high E open. So there you go. I've got my middle finger, 3rd string 6, index on the B string 5th. So it says, and that's how I let the bender down for A. So we're up on here in the open A, and then we're down on the bender with this. Backing tracks in E, so I'm just going to sneak 2 more up to the E bender box, but I'm going to leave the high E open. So I've got my ring finger, 3rd string 9th, index, B string 7th. And I take my index finger off and do the B string open up and down on the bender. And all 3 are ringing nicely together. So that A to E sequence again. Now all we have to do is E, B, and E again. And I'm going to do the simplest thing to get us out of here softly to end the whole thing. I'm going to go back down here the way we started the party in chapter 1. It's full circle time. So my index finger's going down to the 3rd string, 1st fret. Top 2 strings are open. I'm going to take the bender up with that. 3, 2 together, and then the high E open. I'm going to leave the high E open again on this, but I am going to switch the 3 and 2 strings to 4 and 2. That's going to be my ring finger and index finger. And that's to get us to B, because it's going E, B, E. So I just did E. Switching to the B position now. And I'm gonna hit the 3-2 together. Bender's unengaged now. And then we go back to E to finish the whole thing. And I'm gonna do what we've been doing in the other chapters. I'm gonna make an open D chord up here for the key of E, right? And I'm just gonna do a real brief pattern like we've been doing in all the other chapters. All right, all together, and then we'll get on out of here. That is it, my friends. Everything you need to be dangerous. I don't think you need a pick hand for this chapter. You could probably even use a pick if you wanted for this because it's such slow mover. But that's all you're going to need to be dangerous to be a background bender. Of course, keep in mind, it's not just the notes. It's being a background bender is more of a thought process, a mentality, your tone, your phrasing, your attack. You're really trying to get the sonic space filled, but not jump out too much. We're saving that for our solo spot, right? So keep all of that in mind. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Again, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying this content. Appreciate the help there. And I'm going to go back to the Bender Laboratory, come up with our next lesson. But until then, remember, it's never too late to go on a bender. Certainly hope you do, even if it's in the background. And I will see you again real soon here on the channel. Until then, keep it bent.